Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I am Kim Kesti in the Spellbinders studio, and Spellbinders is so happy to be collaborating, kind of partnering with Pink Fresh for this great event. So welcome, everybody. I am going to give everyone just a little bit of a chance to log in, make sure they're in the right spot. But again, we are broadcasting from Arizona. So we are on Pacific time, so welcome to all of my fellow Pacific time crafters. I know a lot of you, it's a little bit later in the day, so that's awesome too, but we are bright and early here in the Phoenix area. Again, Spellbinders office is located in Phoenix, and this is our amazing studio, so we're so lucky to be able to have it, to broadcast, to do a variety of trainings and videos and YouTubes for you all. I hope you all enjoy them. So that would be over on our Spellbinders channel. But again, so appreciative to Pink Fresh for inviting us to do this fun event with them. We did create several products that came in your kit, along with the Pink Fresh products, of course. So I think it's a great collaboration. It's kind of a match made in heaven, I think. I am not here by myself in the studio too, so hopefully you guys are all in there commenting. And to that effect, I want to introduce Miss Nicole, who's going to help me moderate.
Good morning, everybody.
So if you guys have any burning questions, and I know the Pink Fresh team is on there too, and they'll definitely be in that chat helping and firing off questions if we need to address any of that. But Nicole's kind of my partner here, where she says, hey Kim, somebody wants to know what that little trick is you just did, or whatever happens to be, as we craft together for the next couple of hours. And of course, I mentioned we're in the Spellbinder studio, and this does not just happen by magic. We have the amazing Gavin behind the controls there. Yay, Gavin! I know sometimes people like the little behind the scenes look, so I always love to bring Gavin up and have him do the little wave. He looks like he's in a dark cave back there, but we have a lot of soundproofing and whatnot to hopefully get you going and crafting and give you the best experience with sound and video, and it's a whole team that works together to do that. I'm like clunking my things on my counter here. Hopefully that's not coming right through the mic too. But again, I am Kim Kesti here in Phoenix, and I feel like we should take a look at what we're going to craft with. What do you guys think? You guys ready to go? You had your like morning refreshments and beverages, and we're ready to go. All right, let's take a look at some of the fun things we're going to be crafting with today. My class is the Gorgeous You class, so I'm going to be focusing mostly on the Spellbinders products in the kit, and we have several that I just kind of want to show off here. The main probably die that we're going to be working with is this Darling Gorgeous You perfume bottle. So again, it is a perfume bottle, but it has so many different fun layers. Let's just flip it over here. I guess I could turn it around this way. But a lot of fun layers, including this fun bow that I know a lot of the other crafters are going to be using this weekend. Just really fun and dainty. But again, we separate all these little dies so you can do a lot of fun layers and a lot of fun techniques with that. And hopefully you get a lot of mileage out of that. Super cute perfume bottle. And then the little die that kind of goes with it, it could be used with or without it, is this sweet little floral. So again, in the Gorgeous You collection, it has these kind of larger peony flower. I think that kind of is like a closed peony.
Looks like a closed, yeah.
Yeah, and then some other little dainty flowers to go with. So super cute to use on its own, which actually we're going to be doing in the second project. But it is super cute to layer with the perfume bottle too. Make it all cute and fluffy. We do have a stamp set that goes with. We did kind of address this morning, if you guys were up to catch the kind of pre-party we had this morning. If you didn't catch that, be sure to go back and rewatch that. So we had Jeff Lindbergh kind of moderating and introducing all the teachers this morning. So again, watch that if you haven't had a chance to. We talked a little bit about the stamp set and how we don't necessarily have dies that cut around each of these, but it is especially designed to fit right in this frame. So whether you use it with a perfume bottle or not, they are all totally made to match that. So super fun. And last but not least, I actually should pull this out of the plastic. It's probably easier to see. Is this really fun embossing folder. And I feel like Pink Fresh really kind of inspired us on this one because they have so many cute little more dainty designs, and this folder's got the sweetest little heart on it. If you have not had a chance to emboss with this yet, we're going to do that, of course, in class today, but I think you're going to love this darling little pattern and the tiny little puffy hearts. So it is a 3D folder, but I'm telling you, when you emboss it, those hearts just really pop out. So I think that's a fun one. And by the way, Spellbinders embossing folders are kind of large. They're what we call
Supersize.
biggie, supersize. Yeah. So they will basically emboss half of a 8.5 by 11 sheet. So you can do 5 by 7 cards, tall slimline cards, A2 cards, all the things. So we have a lot of fun with our folders. So I think let's tuck the stamp set in the folder aside for just a second. Actually, the folder is going to be one of the things I used earlier on. We will do some die cutting in a second, but now that I'm talking through it, I'm like, I think I'm going to leave the folder out. The first thing I think we'll do is go ahead and emboss the back of our card. Let me bring the card in just to show you. Maybe we'll get a sweet little close-up. I know you guys have this on your instruction guide and you have photos, but sometimes there's nothing like seeing it in real life, right? So we're going to create this perfume bottle with this darling little shaker element. And I think because the back has got this little bit of inking, let's do that first, and then we can set it aside in case it has to dry a little bit. So what I'm going to do to create the back is I've just got an A2 panel of white. This is just our normal 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, just good old classic Nina paper. And then of course, did y'all get some of these big brushes? I think that our class members were some of the first to be able to get these gorgeous, huge, fluffy brushes from Pink Fresh. If you do not have one of these big ones, another type of blending brush will be fine to work with this product too. Maybe you have something in your stash. I will have to say Spellbinders also does have a big fat brush, but I am using Pink Fresh's today. So that would be an option too. So any kind of larger blending brush. I think because we're putting a lot of ink on this background, more or less the bigger the brush you have, the better. But if you have a smaller one, it'll work too. It might just take you a few extra minutes. And the ink I'm going to be used to blending the background to create that kind of fun technique is the Sparkling Rose Pink Fresh ink. And one other thing I want you to grab, and maybe it's not our mister, but we have this Mighty Mister is amazing from Spellbinders. It gives a really fine mist of just plain water, nothing fancy. If you do not have our Mighty Mister, go ahead and grab whatever mister you have. It is a little bit, gives you a little bit extra, I guess, I'm trying to think of the right word, extra success. There we go. If you do lightly mist the paper, we are going to only be misting the back of the panel, but if you do have a mister available, go ahead and grab that. Set that aside. It'll still work if you don't have a mister, but you may want to experiment, you know, misting and not misting and see if you can tell the difference. But I personally think there is a little bit of a difference if you have that extra moisture. And the reason why is because the light misting of water will kind of break down the fibers of this paper just a little bit, just enough to soften them so you get that really nice 3D look. So I'm going to bring in this guy. I'm actually going to get another panel of paper under here just so I have some extra to go with. If y'all have a sticky mat or anything, you can certainly use that. I think I'm just going to ink on the bottom. This is not super precise inking. It's not stenciling or anything like that. So you don't have to have any kind of sticky surface, but if you do, that's great. You can use that too. I'm going to go in for inking approximately 2/3 of this panel. I'm going to kind of do the first half first, then I'm going to just lightly blend a little bit more. So I know this is kind of white on white, guys, but bear with me here. And isn't that ink gorgeous? Just lays down nicely. The heaviest ink you want at the bottom of your panel. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer a couple layers at the bottom here and then gradually work my way up. And I just use a circular motion. I'm going to be blending quite a bit of ink, so I'm not too worried about if one spot's heavier than the other. It'll all kind of even out as we go. And one thing I do want to mention right now is that even if you think your ink looks a little blotchy or not perfect, I'm telling you, by the time you run it through that embossing folder, it will take away any kind of defect that you think you have.
It is. It's a nice little imperfection
It's amazing.
Cover. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You're thinking, oh, I got a little blotchy spot, but I'm telling you, once it goes through that folder, all you see is that beautiful embossing. And the ink does lighten up a little bit, kind of as you go, as it dries. I think there's a technical term for that. Maybe some of you know that in the chat, but I don't know if it's called drying off or just where the ink kind of mellows out as it gets softer. So you can see I'm a little bit more than halfway up the panel. So now I'm not really going to add a lot of ink on my brush, but I am going to kind of continue to go up the panel a little bit, maybe just kind of lightly dragging some of this ink from below, and then getting up closer to that about 2/3 mark. Christina kind of laughed this morning in the teacher and the kickoff party, I should say, meet and greet, whatever we want to call it. She's like, I'm not a mathematician, people. Like, you don't have to measure, just kind of eyeball it. Give yourself your approximately 2/3. All right, I'm going to add a tiny bit more ink in this corner. And I did not have you guys do this for homework because I want to go ahead and do my embossing really while this ink still is a tiny bit damp. So that's why if some of you are thinking, gosh, Kim, you should have had this done for homework. You really want to do the embossing fairly quick. So take a last look at your panel, decide if you love the inking. I think this looks pretty good. You can even kind of see, I think on the video, that it's still a little bit wet. So one thing I do want to tell you, and it's another little tip, Spellbinders folders has their logo on the front, and this is always kind of the top of the folder. I know some folders you can easily flip over and then you're not sure which side embosses or debosses or whatnot. But the one with the logo is always going to be your top of your folder. So again, I mentioned I'm going to mist this, but I am going to turn it over. I'm not going to mist my ink to side. You can do that, and it's actually a little bit different of a look, but maybe I'll have Gavin put the camera up here and you can see my mighty misting action. So this gives such a great long continuous spray. I'm going to do one test spray. Look at that long mist. Isn't that nice? So I'm going to kind of spray it and then kind of wave my panel in front. So you don't need a ton of water on it, just enough to give it that light mist. Okay. Now we're going to pop it in again, remembering that the panel is going to emboss with the logo side. And then you can kind of, because our folders are clear, kind of decide where you want your hearts, left to right. Again, not anything that's super critical, but getting your panel straight maybe is the thing you want to mainly watch for. All right, so I'm going to bring my platinum die cutting machine in here. And for the 3D folders, I know some of you had questions. I tried to help you out in the Facebook group, but we have an amazing sandwich now that we've got our new universal platform system. And it's so simple that you guys are going to love it. So if you've not picked up the universal platform system or you don't have a newer machine, might be something to consider. So you need the base platform, which is our A platform, and then you're just going to put your folder inside with your embossed panel. And I like to put my folder so it's not jammed all the way up against the edge of the platform, because that just makes it a little bit tougher to roll through. You want to give it a little room, I call it pinching room. And then you put your D plate on top, and that's it. That's the sandwich, not complicated at all. So again, A on the bottom, D on the top. I'm giving a little pinching room here, and then I just run it through. And you can see that, although some people have struggled, if you follow those tips that I just gave you, it's going to roll through easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Pop this guy over here.
So there's a lot of chatter about the misting.
Oh.
So, what if I don't have a mister? What do I do? Why do you mist it? All that stuff. You covered some of that. But
yeah, I covered some of that. Again, if you don't have a mister, go ahead and try it without. Just the inking alone will soften your paper, and I think you'll still get results that are just fine. But maybe later when you go back and start experimenting more with this folder, you may want to pick up a mister. I know, gosh, Tim Holtz had one out from Ranger from ages ago that a lot of us crafters who've been around a while probably have that. Anything that gives a really fine mist. And again, it just softens the fiber of the paper. And I only misted the back, guys. So again, don't panic if you don't have a mister. Do your inking, run it through, and see what you think. I love how it looks. And you can see how even that inking just kind of is all smoothed out. I don't know. It's the magic of the embossing folder, I think. But again, don't panic if you don't have that. Just give it a try and tell us the results in the chat. If you tried it without misting, and tell me if you think it turned out just beautiful, because I bet it did.
The other thing I mentioned is we're really dry here in Phoenix, so
yes,
having that extra bit of humidity is helpful.
That's true. If we've got our Florida gals or down there where Jeff is, he probably doesn't even need a mister because it's so nice and humid. So yeah, good point, Nicole. I like that.
And then one more thing. I know
Yeah.
you showed it, but there's some questions. When you ran your embossing folder through, you did the seam side first, right?
I did. I
Backed off
did
a
the
little
seam.
bit.
Yeah, kind of what we call the side that's hinged, or the hinged
The
side
hinge, yeah.
first. It does have a little bevel. If you guys feel your embossing folder, if you have it out, you can feel that this has a little bevel built in. There, I think you could even see it on the camera there. So I do recommend always putting this side in first. But again, having that extra little pinching, leeway there when I put it on the platform definitely also helps. So I think it's a combination of the bevel and then giving it a little headway or leeway. Yeah, if you butt this right up at the edge of the platform, I'm telling you, you'll be like, oh, my machine is going to break. Maybe later I can do another embossing. Well, I will for the second card anyway, and we'll run through it again. But yeah, just, again, take advantage of that pause button if you need to pause anything real quick, and you can definitely come back to that. All right, so my die is pretty much, I got a brand new one here, lucky. So I'm going to take it off our little backer here. You guys have to give me some tips for storage. We do have our little craft stacks here, which I love for kind of collecting dies as I work on projects. I don't necessarily always use it for long-term storage, but these little craft stacks are amazing. So fun. But yeah, talk to me about storage pouches, kind of how you guys do your dies. I know that we can always get tips from each other. And I'm going to go ahead and lay out some of the papers we're going to be die cutting. And then die cut right along with you guys. So this is a brushed gold. I think you can maybe see a little bit of the metallic sheen, yep, on the video there. So this came in your kit. So this is a brushed gold, really fun piece. You have several pinks in here, so I wanted to point something out. Let me pull all 3 pinks out. And again, we didn't really have homework for the class. I'm going to walk you through every little piece. And again, keep in mind, replay if you guys get lost, or use the pause button. But we do have 3 different pinks. The majority of the pink we're going to be using on this first card, or actually all of the pink we're going to be using on the first card, is the larger panel. So these 2 small pinks right here, just set aside. These are for card number 2. We are also going to use a little smidge of this on card number 2, so we're going to be a little bit careful when we do our die cutting. But you want your large kind of brushed gold and your large pink. And then let me go back to the kit. I can't remember if we kitted this for you or if this was just on the supply list to grab a little piece of acetate. So hopefully you guys all have that, whether it's we included it in the kit or if it was just grab your acetate. I think it might have just been on the supply list, but that'll be for the shaker card. And then I want you to look at a couple of these sheets of paper. We're going to use this darker green, darker green we're going to use on card number 2, so you can set that aside. I'm going to bring in our brighter green, because I have a big old huge piece of this bright green. We're going to use this on the card. This yellow is also for card number 2, so set that aside. And then you have this kind of small little cute blushy pink peach color. Not sure exactly what it is. We call it barely peach, but it is kind of a cross between a peach and a pink. So for this card project, you're going to need these guys and one more, the black for the background of the perfume bottle. So as you're sorting through your kit, I'll give you just a second to kind of catch up. I'm going to cut this little guy in half. I'm going to cut it straight in half, and that's just going to give me a little bit easier pathway to die cutting. This doesn't have to be cut perfectly in half, but if you guys have scissors even, just go ahead and grab half of it. We only need a little bit for this first card, but let me lay them out one more time. Ooh, I'll make a pattern here. This will be good. This is a pretty color combo, by the way. So you have 4 panels, all the same size now since I cut my green in half. I've got green, brushed gold, black, pink, and then the smaller piece of what we call barely peach. These are all the pieces we need for the card.
They're asking for the name. So Peridot is
yes,
green?
Peridot. This is a quiz, Nicole. What's this?
Peridot.
Peridot. And this is?
Brushed gold.
Brushed gold. And this is?
Pink sand.
Pink sand, yes.
And onyx.
Onyx, our black. And barely peach, the little baby one in the middle. And we're going to be doing a little bit of inking to these. I think that's a really fun way to change the look of your die cuts, is add some little ink blending. So we'll be doing a little bit of that on this card and even more on our second card. But does this look good, guys? Got them all laid out. Exciting. And again, vellum I'm going to set aside. We don't need that quite yet. All right, I mentioned perfume bottle. It's got all these different fun layers. Isn't this fun? I think you guys are going to have a blast just creating all kinds of projects with this perfume bottle. I'm going to actually grab my best ever craft tape here, and I'm going to tack these down a tiny bit as we go. And then again, I think you guys will be able to keep up. I actually can fit my perfume bottle this way. I love it. Save some of that beautiful onyx paper for something a little bit later. Now this die, the inside die, it's kind of our, I guess we'll call it our inset. It's got 3 different layers, so I'll kind of walk you through what gets cut with what. We're going to first cut out the very biggest one out of the Barely Peach. And again, if you guys see the photo, you can see that this is our largest frame. We're going to come back and do a little bit more cutting on this, but we're going to start with just cutting this frame. And then this one that's got the little tiny cute edge, which actually our designer Josie has called the Perfect Touch Edge. It gives a really sweet little detail, and we just came out with some larger dies with the same little accent edge, and they are called the Perfect Touch Rectangles. And I think those are available right now also. I'm going to come back and do that second. So these are the 3 pieces we're going to start with. And again, we'll be cutting out some insides of these 2 pieces, but let's start with our perfume bottle, the Barely Peach larger frame, and then what I'm calling kind of our medium frame that has that Perfect Touch edge out of our light pink right here. All right, let's start with those guys. I think I need my cutter for a second. Took my blending brush away. By the way, do we not just adore the packaging that Pink Fresh has for their products?
I was going to mention it earlier. I'm just like,
oh, so beautiful.
Cool.
The little pull tab. It's just, we're just jelly.
We are.
Oh, one thing I didn't point out too, I'll pop it in here real quick before I move these. We do have that fun little packet of sequins that we sent you from Spellbinders, and that is just part of our sequin collection. We have a bunch of different colors of these. I'm also going to be using on my next card the embellishments from Pink Fresh too, but I've got my little sequins ready to go there. All right, green we don't need quite yet. Gold we don't need quite yet. All right, so we're going to die cut these. Let me bring my platforms back in. Oops, and there goes my heat gun.
Who's that?
I'll need that later. Oh, guys, I have brand new cutting plates. How exciting is this?
Whoa.
Ooh. Somebody got me hooked up before class here. Don't you just love fresh cutting plates? But then it's like, well,
It doesn't last long,
it's going to be marked pretty soon. All right, so again, our cutting plates are just a smidge shorter than our platforms. It doesn't really matter, but they also have bevels on them. So again, we've really tried to engineer our new universal platform to just be the best of the best. So we hope that if you guys are cutting on with the Spellbinders machine, you're loving it. Of course, these dies are compatible with all the major brands of die cutting machines. Maybe you have a more of an electric one. Should work with anything. All right, 1 perfume bottle started. I'm going to pop both of these on and kind of cut them together. I do love Jennifer's tip, though, that she tries to keep one of her die cutting plates pretty clean. I like that for 2 reasons. One, it increases the longevity. So, trying to keep your one top cutting plate, you know, without tons of cut marks in it. But 2, we talked about better press this morning in the kickoff. It is nice when you die cut your better press, so say you're die cutting a sentiment or something like that. It is really nice to have the extra clean plate on top, because that cotton paper that we use with better press is very, very soft and very delicate. All right, so we've got a couple labels here, and you guys can kind of see that how pretty they stack up already. Now, because we are doing the shaker window, we want to cut out some apertures or some windows inside. So I'm going to work on that right now, but how sweet are they? Just layered up just like that. So cute. So I know you guys are going to get, again, lots of mileage from this fun little nesting set here. All right, so let's start with the pink one. We're going to need this little aperture cut from here. So again, super flexible, with or without. We try to give you all the options. So I'm just lining it up. It lines up pretty easy. It's pretty easy to tell because of those little fun little perfect touch details. It lines up pretty good. So this is the smallest one that nests inside here. It's really the only die that fits this way. And then you want to take your next smaller and cut your window for the little barely peach die cut too. So now we're taking those same two we already did and just cutting an extra window out, because this will allow us to kind of reveal our shaker portions. Line those guys up, make sure my tape is holding. Any kind of low tack tape works. Oops. I feel like it just wiggled. Better put a second piece of tape, Kim. Any low tack tape works. We do love our best ever craft tape. So, again, if you haven't tried it, it might be something you can check out. This is a pretty traditional way to do a shaker card. I know in the past we've done some other kind of styles, so maybe y'all have fun tips about that too. You can do some little inlay things. Those are pretty fun too. Okay, so this little fun panel is just an extra. It's definitely one you can set aside, use it for another card project. Again, that stamp sentiment fits perfectly on here, so you want to put that in your keep pile. And then we've got this little frame, which of course nests in there. Super cute. You can kind of see where we're going. It's like, ah, I see what you're doing, Kim. And this sweet little panel is an extra too. So definitely set that aside and use that for another project. Could even layer it with this one that I just popped over there. Look how cute. I have a little cute little set already started for a new project. All right. Collect my dies back here.
Reagan's back to school, and so when I see little things like that, I'm like, ooh, lunchbox notes.
Oh, lunchbox notes. So cute. I love that. All right, so we've got some little building happening here. And you can see as we're heading in this direction that these are all going to fit perfectly on the front of our perfume bottle. Before we start assembling the actual shaker card, though, I want to do some more die cutting just to kind of get that set aside. We'll give a cute little visual here as we finish some of our die cutting. It'll be cute. All right. Another panel of white here. I think I cut one. Yes, I did. Okay. One thing I did not tell you when I laid out all my pretty colors is you will need a little bit more white to do the little floral for the panel. And also we're going to stamp on this. So we'll keep one little end for stamping, and we're going to cut one of our florals out of plain white. So apologies I didn't tell you to grab your white. Hopefully you have plenty of that on hand. But it's time to bring our green and our gold back in. So now we have some green, gold, white. We're going to cut our pretty little bow, of course, out of the gold. Love this. And you do want to be fairly conservative with this cut because we don't want to waste this pretty gold paper. You can use it for a bunch of other projects. I'm trying to remember if Jennifer used some of this on one of her projects, but we kind of hoard our brushed gold. It's so pretty. We'll pop this here. And we do need a little flower center. So grab your little baby flower die. It's time to bring that guy into business here. And there's only one center that's approximately this size. So see that little round fluffy center? I'm going to pop that right here in this blank spot because, you know, I said conserve paper. want to save some of this for another project. So I've got bow and then little flower center, the things we're cutting out of the gold. Now your flower has this one kind of more daisy looking one. This is not the peony. So we just need one of those guys. This guy taped down.
They're obsessed with the bow die.
The bow die. I saw a lot of people using it already in the group, and then I know some of the other designers use it on their, different make and tape projects and stuff, but I'm telling you, that bow die, worth the price of admission, right? All right, so we have our little pink scrap too. We're gonna get a little bit of this for the little perfume bottle topper. I should not flip that over so quickly. So your little topper comes from your perfume bottle die. Use my tape over here. So we've got that guy on there. Oh, we need a little bit more in the gold. I kind of forgot about the little trim now that I'm looking at the perfume bottle. See this little trim piece? This kind of just adds a little few accents on your top of your perfume bottle. You don't really see them that much because the flower kind of covers it, but they are there, so we'll pop them on there. So now we've got 2 pieces of the bow, the flower center, and the little perfume bottle accents. Got perfume topper, 1 flower, and then we need a couple little leaves out of here, and we are good to start die cutting. These 2 little individual leaves, I actually cut them twice. So I'll cut the first set and then I'll come back and cut a second pair also. We are going to need quite a bit of green. I mean, you'll have plenty, but I needed quite a bit of green for that second card. So I'll try to be a little conservative here too. All right, so again, remember, you can pause if you're not done with all your taping down, or else just die cut along with me as we go along. This is a soothing part of the program. I should have had Gavin give us some nice relaxing music. I actually love die cutting. I mean, I mentioned in the kickoff party this morning that, okay, I'm not an expert stamper, although Pink Fresh stamps do make it pretty easy, but there's just something about die cutting. It's so foolproof. You don't have to be an expert, colorer or an expert stamper. It just kind of does its thing for you. And I think hopefully you guys are loving the Spellbinders designs. I always try to come up with something new and innovative. A lot of credit goes out to Josie, our head designer. Where she has his ideas, she pulls out of her brain. Look how cute that bow ribbon. Oh. Okay, flower center, don't lose that, Kim. Some little accents for our perfume bottle. All right, and again, love the craft stacks. I can just toss my dies in here and hopefully not lose them. Okay. Do a little pink. Maybe I'll throw the green right below here. We're really getting all of the hard work done now. I think the assembly of the actual card, like I said, will kind of come together on its own. Sometimes I get stuck to the platform, especially with new cutting plates. All right, I'm going to do 2 more of these leaves right now while I have it handy. I know we'll need more for our later, our card, but do these 2 for now. Oh, those popped right out. I did realize when I have my white here, now that I'm bringing my white in, that we do need a couple more little flowers on our white. So let's bring this in and back up the train for a second. These tiny little flowers on your Gorgeous You floral, these 2 little guys, they're hooked together. So it's going to automatically cut two at once. We really only need 1 for this card, but I forgot we had that cute little accent at the bottom of our bottle. So there we go. Big flower and a little set of the babies.
Okay,
Are they
Kesti,
buds or what are they? I don't know.
are you ready for a little perfume trivia?
Oh, let's have some perfume trivia. Yes.
Best-selling perfume of all time.
Wow.
Do you know what it is?
Okay, Deb and I are both of an age where perfume used to really be a thing. I'm saying Deb because my helper Deb is back here. You know, I mean, perfume used to be like, man, that was the gift to give.
It was. It was
I don't
expensive.
know. Maybe it is still, and I'm just out of it. But what do I think? I feel like it's like a Chanel or something like Chanel No. 5. They used to get
You
powder.
got it.
Is it really?
Yes.
We had powder. We had perfume. We had the spray. We had all the stuff.
Still an
Really?
iconic
Chanel
fragrance.
No. 5.
Chanel No. 5.
Guys, I did not know that. Seriously,
They all knew it.
They all knew it?
Oh yeah, they all knew it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I was almost going to say something Dior, and I'm like, no, that's not the right designer. Dior must have had some popular one too, I swear.
It's so funny because the internet's, you never really know. But I mean, Chanel No. 5, that's pretty iconic. But
Oh, that's awesome.
we have YSL Black Opium, Gucci Bloom, Giorgio Armani. I do know, I have heard of Marc Jacobs Daisy. I have heard of that for years.
Oh, you know what? I think my daughter has
I know, I
bought
feel
that.
like my daughter went through that phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, the older ones. Yeah.
All right, guys, we have a couple flowers. We've got some flower center, some leaves. I am going to go ahead and grab my acetate out. Now, you don't need this, a big of a sheet is what I have right here. But I'm just going to kind of measure it. I don't need the pink one. I'll measure it with my peach kind of outline. And I'm just going to trim my acetate so it pretty much fits there. I know this is hard to see when it's on camera. But I'm just going to go around and trim this guy. Now, some people will tell me, can you die cut it? And some acetates, I think you can die cut easier than others. But this is so angular that I'm fine with just cutting it with scissors. If y'all have special fancy, metal plates or things that you think you can die cut, you could try to do the frame. Although now I'm saying that, I'm like, will it cut the inside? No, it should cut that acetate if you have a proper sandwich, but instead of monkeying with it, I'm just going ahead and cutting it with scissors to kind of match that.
What scissors are you using,
frame.
Kimberly?
I know. Look at these gorgeous scissors. I am using our Pro Shears from Spellbinders. I think a lot of us crafters have this in our possession. I think a lot of the other teachers too, but best scissors ever. And I'm sure I'll be pulling out the little companion one too at some point, but right now we're just adhering, or starting to get ready to adhere our acetate on this frame. And we're actually going to layer both of these together. So what seems like it would be an impossibly tiny amount of adhesive actually is going to be covered up by both of these frames. So if you guys, you can kind of use whatever you want as far as adhesive. Maybe you have some fancy, like really super sticky red tape. I'm just going to use tape runner. And then layer them together because I think it'll hold just fine. The tape runner's a little bit bigger. You could actually use wet glue too. You have to be a little bit more careful with wet glue. It's like, don't make this a big mess, Kim. I'm doing my tape runner a little bit off the edge. If you guys have, actually I have white liner tape under here too. I might grab that out. But again, you don't have to have super fancy tape. Unless you get tape accidentally on the back side of your adhesive. Your acetate. That was not supposed to be there. Come off. Alright, peels off there pretty good. So again, looks kind of messy, but we are layering both frames on top of this guy. So it's going to cover up just about all of that adhesive. And whatever it doesn't cover up, I can, on this edge, I can trim away. Again, you want both of these to pop right in together. Take just an extra second and pop them in. And again, extras around the edge I can just trim away, which is also another benefit of our Pro shears. They are non-stick, so they're going to be able to trim this away. But again, white liner tape would be good, or that fancy, super strong red tape. Just whatever method you want to get your acetate to stick to these two dies. Trim, trim, trim. Looks like I have one more little piece that showed, so I'm just going to push that back. Oops, it's on the front here. The old fingernail trick. On the back, we're also adding additional foam. That's what's going to build up our shaker thing. So don't worry about the back being pretty. Again, we're going to be adding strips of foam to the back. So get your acetate adhered with those two little panels. I still have a tiny smooge right here. Go away. This is the OCD crafter coming in. So now we've got the acetate adhered to the die cuts. Now we can flip it over. Again, the back side is not going to be pretty, but this is where you're going to want to build up your foam. So you can have foam squares you can cut. You can have something that maybe has got foam strips. These are actually fairly new here at Spellbinders. So any kind of foam adhesive, maybe you have it on a roll, whatever kind you have, you want to build up and just hide behind this little frame. So again, that is why we did the double frame too. Just gives you a little bit more room to add your foam. And I'm kind of cutting as I go. Again, non-stick scissors, love them. You do want to make sure that your foam doesn't have any giant gaps. If you have a tiny little gap, that's fine. The shaker elements that we're using are, you know, a decent size, so they're not going to be so tiny that they fall out. But butt it up as close as you can. Again, you might be using squares, and I've done that plenty of times, trust me. I've done squares that I've just had to trim down. Looks like this strip might be a little bit too thick too. So whether you're trimming squares or trimming strips, just make sure they tuck right behind your little frame. Probably the more tedious, most tedious part of this project.
Yeah, they're saying mine looks messy. Yes, everybody's does.
Everybody's looks
Don't
messy,
worry.
especially on the back, for sure. Again, if you use tape runner like I did, just go ahead and trim away that adhesive, anything you have hanging on the outside edge. But no worries if it looks messy. My last little bit here. Again, overlapping kind of a little bit. So let me put this on the black. This is still upside down, but I just kind of want to let you see. I haven't peeled back one of my little adhesive backings already popped off, but basically you just want your edges built up all the way around. Kind of hold it at a little bit of an angle so you guys can see that. And this foam that I'm using is not super tall foam or super thick. I'm not doubling it up or anything like that. The sequins that we're using to pop into this, again, are the little pink ones that we sent you from our Spellbinders pack. They're pretty flat. They also are pretty fun because they don't have any holes in them, so it's kind of what we call our holeless sequins.
It's a mouthful.
Or what I call them unholy. Oh, I don't know, that doesn't sound quite right. But, again, they're pretty flat, so you don't need a super ton of dimension built into this guy, but... All right, do we feel like people are kind of there? Are you still adhering?
They're chatting about perfume.
They're chatting about
that.
Mm-hmm. It's all good. All right, so I think I'm going to, again, take advantage of that pause button. If you are crafting along with me and you want to pause just for a second and finish building up your adhesive, but I think we're pretty good. There is one tip that you can do. I'm not too fuzzed up about it. Again, these elements are not super, super tiny, so they don't tend to generate as much, you know, static or sticking to your adhesive. But if you want, this is an extra little tip. You can take some anti-static powder, and I would do this before I peeled back the adhesive. My adhesive is exposed on one little bit right there. But I would just kind of tuck it. What you want to do is kind of tuck it just on the inside of that adhesive, or pounce it just a tiny bit. So again, we're not trying to unstick our adhesive. You don't want to do that. But if you kind of do it on these little insides, the powder will actually adhere just to that edge of the adhesive, and it will cause your shaker elements to be able to flow just a little bit better, and they won't get stuck to your adhesive on the side. So if y'all have not seen that tip, that might be something interesting for you to try. I'm getting a little tissue and just making sure there's not a ton of powder on my clear part because I don't want it to be cloudy. But most of the anti-static powder is super, super fine, so it's not going to be an issue. All right, so now I'm going to peel back my adhesive. My little backing for my strips. Tool-in-one is awesome for this if you don't have fingernails. I don't have much fingernails myself, but okay, that's peeled off, that's peeled off. All right, so now we're going to put some sequins right on our black perfume bottle, and this is where you guys can kind of use your judgment, like how much or how little. I feel like my sample card I maybe didn't have quite enough, so I'm adding a few more, but I don't think you're going to need that entire pack that we sent you, so maybe set these aside and have them for, again, another project. You want enough in there that it kind of, you know, gives you some pretty pink action. And then all we're going to do is pop this guy, turn this guy over, and just gently take your time, kind of get your positioning. This is something if I was a crafter that was sitting and crafting, I would stand up so I can get a little bit more overview, because you want to just have this placed as close to the center as you can. And the die is definitely going to guide you. It's going to help you line up. So you just kind of look at this and you do some little adjusting and you go, okay, left, right, and you try not to touch it till you're ready to go. But feeling like that's pretty close, pretty close. Once you go down, you're pretty committed with the foam. But ooh, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then you just want to press down firmly all the way around. And okay, let's see. Let's try it. Ah,
Yay,
yes. Yay. So it does almost feel like if you have enough sequins in there, it almost feels like, okay, this is your perfume at the bottom of your bottle or whatever. And then of course it's just fun. An interactive card is always so super fun. So great job, you guys, if you're following along. Awesome, awesome job. We're going to do a little bit of inking on these two flowers before we start attaching flowers to our perfume bottle. And then a little bit of inking on these leaves. Why not? Again, we only need one of the baby flowers. I mean, you can put two if you want, but I'm only going to put one on my project. And then, of course, your top of your perfume bottle. And a couple little trim pieces belong up here. Actually, let's go ahead and glue these two on because I feel like I might lose them if I don't. I do have our Barely Arts glue, which is my preferred wet adhesive of choice. I'm sure you guys probably have a favorite too, but I do love my Barely Arts. Dries nice and clear. So here's kind of your trim on your perfume topper. Your top of your bottle.
I do love that. Those details that Josie
Little
adds to the dies.
cute little details, right?
They just really make it.
Make it so dainty. All right, let that dry for a second and we'll do some inking. This time I'm going to grab out my little baby Pink Fresh brushes. So cute. Did one for the make and take. Use these for the make and take. I pre-recorded. If y'all haven't had a chance to look at that, definitely check it out. I'm gonna grab my pink and my green. We talked about what a disaster your craft table looks like after crafting. I'm already there and I'm not even done with one card. Already a mess. It's all good. All right, and the other Pink Fresh ink I'm using is Key Lime. So I'm gonna bring that Sparkling Rose I used earlier. That is what we inked the back of our panel with. And then I'm gonna add some Key Lime to my little leaves. And these are really delicate touches. If you did not do them, if you skipped this step, it probably would be totally fine too. But I think just adding a little accent. And I think I'm gonna add a little bit of pink to my stopper too. Might as well since I have the pink out, right? Let's do our pink first. Grab my scrap paper. The perfume bottle, you can kind of do whatever you want, but I kind of just went around the edge a little bit. I actually can't remember if I even did this on my demo card, but again, all that sweet little accent that Josie creates in these dies, the inking just really makes it pop that much more. And then pink, you don't want much ink on this little flower. You just want a little bit, kind of more in the center. I'm trying to be light-handed. Trust me, it's a little bit hard for me. I tend to be heavy-handed on certain things. But again, just some sweet little ink, mainly centered around the middle. We are going to add that gold center, so make sure you have enough ink that it shows, but you don't have to go clear out to the edge. You could even grab your center if you wanted to kind of pop it on there and look and go, oh yeah, I think that's good enough. Cute, cute. And this little baby just needs a little tiny touch. Switch to green. I feel kind of like lucky that my class is first because I feel like then all the other classes will probably be more efficient and better than mine, so at least I don't have to be compared to everybody else.
Yeah, you don't want to follow.
So many good designers. You don't want to follow,
yeah.
Jennifer. Ah, that's probably why Jennifer goes last usually.
Yeah, no one wants to follow.
Nobody wants to follow. She comes up with so many crazy good ideas. But again, hopefully this is kicking off your event in a good way. You guys have so many good classes to look forward to. Okay, so just kind of giving the tips of those flowers a little extra green. I don't know, I think it just adds a fun little pop. I kind of love it. All right, so now I've got leaves and flowers and all the fun things.
The shaker.
Shaker, perfume bottle. You guys, we're almost there. Can't believe this. All right, before we start assembling, I think I'm going to bring my embossed panel back in. And it's nice and dry now because it is Arizona. If yours is not dry for some reason, I feel like it probably is, but if it's not, you can always put a little heat gun action on there. Make sure it is nice and dry. And then I've got a folded card base. I didn't really give you guys homework, so I can't remember if I told you in a post or something that the only thing we need for my two projects is 2 of these top fold card bases. So this is a classic A2, of course 4 1/4 wide. The paper starts out the full 11 inches tall, and then you just fold that little guy in half. So 2 of these you'll need for today's projects. One for the shaker and one for our card we're going to be doing next. But pretty standard, nothing fancy there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just adhere my embossed panel.
And do you want to talk about why you like the top fold?
Yeah, I guess I tend to do most of my cards top fold. And it's kind of funny because we talked about photography this morning a little bit, and a lot of our product photos are flat lay. In other words, you lay them flat and take them straight down with the camera. In which case it doesn't really matter as far as standing up, but when we do stand up cards to go ahead and photograph them, I personally feel like they just stand up a little bit better when you do this type of situation. And then they're really super easy to photograph. Or they're just cute to stand. I really just like them if the people, your recipient or whoever is receiving the card, wants to have it on a little display or have it sitting on their windowsill or whatever for a few days, they really stand nice like that. I think Spellbinders also tends to layer a lot of die cuts, so if you have the other kind of fold, sometimes they just fall over. We get our cards a little heavy, but yeah, I just like that fold. I think it's nice. All right, so I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and pop up my perfume bottle on here, and then I'm gonna kind of build my elements right on my card base. So this is optional. You can pop it up with foam, or you can just glue it straight on that panel. Really doesn't matter. But again, we just talked about heavy cards and cards with a lot of dimension. That's definitely Spellbinders jam and my jam. So I'm putting some foam strips on the back. And then just keep in mind when you adhere this perfume bottle on, leave room for the little cap. You don't want to have it too high on your card. Again, you can look at your photo, but keep in mind that this cap's going to come behind there too. So give yourself enough room. But I know it's approximately, I can even measure it, but it's maybe a ½ inch from the bottom. Kind of make sure it's centered pretty good. Make sure it's straight. Does it look pretty good? Look okay? Yeah. All right. Gavin's back there. Yeah, looks good, looks good. Oh, so fun. Look at that pink behind there. It just really brings out the sequins. It's a pretty high drama card. This card is a lot of contrast between the black perfume bottle and the pink sequins, but kind of loved it. All right, so I am putting, could be foam square, could be foam strip, behind my stopper, because I want this to be able to pop up a little bit behind here too. You don't really want it flat on your card. So just pretend like it's a real stopper for a perfume bottle, and you just pop it in about how deep you think it should go. Should kind of stick out a little bit. And then the fact that this is kind of a clear view, again, it kind of gets covered by the flower in the long run, but it's pretty fun that it gives the illusion that it's, you know, kind of that glass bottle. I think it's so fun. Look how fun and elegant. Even without the bow and the flower, it's just a super cute shape.
So Kim, is there another stopper, or is there another stopper in the set? Someone's asking about another stopper in the set. I'm not as
you know what, there is another piece, so let me grab that die set.
I'm going to give them a chance to catch up to
It is a little back piece. I just talked about this being clear. So she's probably, the viewer's probably talking about this little stopper piece.
Yeah, wondering what to
So you do have that. So you do have the option for popping this behind if you don't want your bottle to look kind of clear. You absolutely could pop this behind. You would probably cut it out of, I would think, the same pink. Or maybe black. You could cut it out of black and have that kind of pop behind there. So that's just if you don't want this more clear view. Now, honestly, by the time we pop our little bow and our flower on top, it kind of covers a lot of that. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about this die piece right now. I can't remember if I said in the instructions to cut it out or not, but optional. You definitely could pop that in behind there, but that is what it's for. Kind of creating that complete, you know, more solid effect.
Perfect.
That makes sense? Yeah.
Got it.
Got it. Again, flexibility. That's what we're all about. Just giving you different options and different ways to use the die. Okay, so bow to me is always going to kind of fluff up. The bow draping like this is really sweet too, but I kind of thought that the more perky bow would be fun when I did this card. So again, options. Your loops can go either way. I'm going to kind of put it right on this bottom crossbar.
So cute.
But wait for it. Wait for the little bow. And again, I know that this is all going to be covered by the flower. There is an extra die piece that completes the bow. I'll bring the die in and show you.
See, that's so cute.
It's so cute. Nicole's like, I want to make one.
I do. I get inspired when I get to moderate these classes.
So check out this little tiny piece on the bow. I just kind of put mine to the side, but you do have this little topper piece. If you are just doing a project with a bow and you want the finished bow, in other words, you're not going to put a flower on top, you would pop out that little piece, which I'm sure it popped out of my gold paper, and just put that as the little accent on top. It has this sweet little detail on it. So again, super cute to do that. And honestly, you could put the topper on that and add your little sentiment, and it doesn't even need flowers, but you know, what's wrong with adding flowers? So let's do that. And this flower you actually can shape a little bit if you want with your fingers, or maybe you have a special tool for that, but I just gently kind of bent it a little bit. I'm not trying to make it a super dramatic cup or anything, but I did kind of just gently give it a little dimension. Flower's gonna go right in the middle. And then I like to use tweezers for adding my little leaves. Actually, let me put the flower center first. And a lot of times when I tuck these leaves in behind, I end up kind of trimming the little ends off because I am tucking it. I mean, I guess you could glue these leaves behind, but there's something about adding them when I already have my flower on that allows me just to have this cute little placement. So I don't want to cover up my bow too much. So I just trim the end of that leaf and just kind of tucking it under. And then that glue will dry. And for our other card, we don't want to trim the edges. We're going to use the, you know, the full leaf, including the stem. But I feel like these are kind of tucked behind my flower there.
They're raving about the versatility of this bottle, which I agree. Somebody apparently posted, I haven't seen it, posted a Halloween version making the bottle
really
poison.
I have not seen that either. Oh, I got to go back in the Facebook group.
See where it is.
Sounds like probably in the Facebook group.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I love Halloween cards, so I'm gonna love it. I know.
So I'm actually going to kind of put my leaves and my flower all a little bit together. These leaves, again, the stems are going to be kind of too long. So I guess I could pop out the other side of the flower, but I went ahead and trimmed them. And again, you don't want to cover too much of your perfume bottle here, but I did love this little tiny accent flower here. So cute. Now, Pink Fresh did send some of the little clear gems, and in fact, I'll be using some of those on my next card. But if you want, you can add a gem from your stash for the middle of the flower. I think that's what I did. Or you can use one of the little clear gems from Pink Fresh. That would be super adorable too. So I think all we have left is our sentiment. So let's grab out our stamp set. And again, this is where you guys can completely go rogue. You can go ahead and pick any kind of sentiment you want. I tended to do this one. I guess I had a wedding card in mind. So I did on your special day, but absolutely adorable to do happy birthday, congratulations, really any of them. Or maybe you have a strip sentiment from your stash that you don't even necessarily use one of the ones from this kit. But I did use the strip on this because I had all these fun shaker elements. I'm not going to be putting the sentiment in the window. I think I actually tried one where I had the sequins on top. I'll have to see if I have it hanging around. I have a couple other samples to share with you guys too, but it's just kind of, again, your choice, your card, your project. You put any sentiment you want on there.
You probably had wedding on the brain because you were getting ready for Ethan's wedding.
I know, I probably was, exactly. You know what I don't know if I have here, Deb, is my Versamark ink. Do I have that here? My sticky ink? I might. It might be buried. Let's look over here.
It's there. It was there.
She's like, it was there. Want to go grab another one? I'm sure we have another one around there.
What's behind your
I
Barely
want
Arts
my
glue?
sticky ink. Behind
Is
my
that
glue?
it?
This is black ink.
Oh, okay, that's what you're
I've
looking
got
for.
black ink there.
Oh, are you
I'm going to use
embossing?
that for my next card. But
Oh, okay.
You need the clear one.
I need the clear,
Oh,
yeah.
you're embossing. My apologies.
I'm going to do some gold embossing. The good old gateway drug. Nicole and I laugh about this
I love
often.
it.
That heat embossing with a little gold powder has got to be like one of the funnest things.
That's how I got
One of the
sucked
first
in.
things that gets you hooked on stamping,
Yep.
right?
I was at the State Fair in Puyallup when I was 15, and Mom got me a little stamping kit in the little booth, and that was it.
And it had a little embossing powder. What
Yep.
color was the powder?
Gold, of course.
Gold. Oh, gold. Okay.
But I didn't have a heat tool back then, so I used the iron.
I was gonna say blow dryer, iron.
I put it up to the iron. And have it
That'll work.
that way.
You know what we did back in the day sometimes too is hold it over the electric stove.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like, you know, you're holding your paper and it's heating from below.
Yep.
Probably not a real great idea. But...
Okay,
got my clear ink. Thank you, Deb. You know what's funny is I just pulled out my... No, I used the same one. I was say I feel like I just pulled out congratulations. And look, I got my pretty pink fresh. Girls are so sweet. They sent me my little stamp press. I have to say we have done some different retail training where we've had Pink Fresh as a partner, and they were always so fun to work with. And so a lot of times we're like, hey, I really like that XYZ. Can you send that to me? Or they'll pop over to us. Ooh, I like the blah, blah, blah. Can you send that? So
good to know people.
It's been a fun partnership.
Okay, Jane Hoffman said she's the one who made the Halloween card.
Oh,
so
okay.
Jane, we're gonna need to see that.
We're gonna
card.
go check it out. I can sort of visualize it. I think that sounds so cute. Okay, make sure I've got plenty of gold on there. I'm telling you, I feel like you buy a gold embossing powder and you probably have like a lifetime supply. Seems like it never runs out. Gotta make sure I don't have any super much extra speckles here. Pop them away. There we go. All right. Nicole, do you have any other trivia while we're heating this?
Well, first of all, I want to say to Pink Fresh, I think that's Heather that's on. And she said, Nicole, that's a Washington State Fair. Only someone from here knows how to pronounce Puyallup. So now I'm wondering, Heather, where are you? I thought I knew you were, but yes. I actually looked up men's cologne.
Okay.
And I don't know, it doesn't feel as easy. Maybe I don't know. But if you want to take a guess, I don't think you're going to get it. I don't know.
Well, I think we can start a conversation about what kind of cologne did your guy ever wear back in the day, because I know exactly what probably I bought for Keith. I'm sure he would never buy cologne on his own, but right. I'll tell you the one I bought for him when we were probably, I don't know, either newly married or dating was Paco Rabanne.
I've heard of that.
Have you heard of it? Deb's over here laughing. I don't know how I ever stumbled across her, if I just was sniffing around the perfume counter and thought it smelled nice, but come on, people, don't leave me in the lurch here. Tell me if you've ever heard of Paco Rabanne or if you ever had it with your guy.
So, that was your dad's?
That was your dad's. See, that's about the right age.
Okay, we're seeing some Ralph Lauren. We're seeing Ralph Lauren Polo.
Oh, yeah.
Polo. Oh, Jacquard Noir. Stacy T. Jacquard Noir is the epitome of my high school years. My boyfriend
Okay,
at the time
so I don't even know what that is, so.
Oh.
You guys are obviously younger than me.
Old Spice is coming up a lot.
Oh, yeah, good Old Spice. I think of that as more of a body wash, not really a perfume.
Deodorant.
Or cologne, I should say.
Mm-hmm. My grandpa wore Old Spice, yeah. It's so funny.
Okay, we're cutting a thin little strip here, people.
Stetson. Oh, Stetson.
What?
Stetson cologne.
Stetson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Deb's like, that's what my guy wore, Stetson.
That's funny. Gavin, do you buy your own cologne or does your wife buy it for you?
A mix.
Yep, a mix, okay.
Okay, guys, I'm cutting this pretty skinny. You don't have to cut it quite the skinny, but if you want to challenge yourself, cutting a tiny strip. It's like, Spellbinders, we need a die for this. We actually probably do have a die that would fit this in our kind of glimmer collection, but oh, feeling pretty good about that. Little strippy strip action here. And then for my sentiment, again, I did not want to cover up a ton of my cute little, sparkles or any fun things. Let's see, where'd my baby scissors go? Oh, time to bring in the cute little Spellbinders detail scissors. You can cut the edge at a little angle. You can cut it in a banner cut, which is what I did. I just come in the middle of my strip here and then cut my 2 little flags, flag shapes. And then when I added this to my card, I actually gave it kind of a little bend with my fingers also. This time I think I'll get some of my baby squares here. Little bitty foam squares. So again, you can kind of curve it a little bit with your fingers, make it even a more exaggerated flag shape, or just put it straight. You can angle it. You know, you guys can kind of play around with wherever you think it looks special. When you put your little foam behind, keep in mind you don't want to have it too close to the edge, otherwise it'll not connect to your perfume bottle. I'm leaving the middle kind of foam free, as we'll say, just so it can kind of float a little bit. So I want this guy right here. So fun. And again, the only last thing I would do is add that little gem to the middle. I don't think I brought any little gems here, but look how cute, you guys. Woo! Are we feeling happy? We're feeling good?
They are.
Yay, I love it. Now, before I move on to our second card, I want to show you a couple more just kind of ideas for cards using the same set. By the way, I did end up earlier stamping that little cute set. Remember when we had the hollow pieces from this aperture? I stamped one of our darling little sentiments. I thought that was so fun. So again, fits perfectly on that frame. Here's a shaker card. I don't know if I did this one originally, just kind of testing it out. Again, we always like to have our practice card or whatever. But I thought the silver was fun. I ended up liking the gold accents a little bit better, but silver is quite pretty. I can't remember if this is pink fresh shaker bits or not in there. And here is one more that we use that fun little sentiment. Instead of making a shaker card, this is probably the more traditional way you would use the perfume bottle. Again, fun little accents with that bow. This time we did a gold stopper. I think that's really fun.
Pretty.
And look how cute that sentiment fits right in the middle perfectly. Love, love. And this background is amazing too. It doesn't even have to have the inking. It really just pops nicely even without. So a couple extra ideas for you. Super fun. And guys, that finishes card number 1. Love it. If you guys 1 second to pause right here. I know some people like to do like a little screenshot. Meantime, I'm going to move some of my squares. Find my cardstock for card number 2. And I think we should be ready to go. Feeling good?
They are.
Woohoo! Yes.
And I'll take that little thing for my lunchbox note. Thank you very much.
This one?
Yes, it's a
That's
perfect.
perfect for Reagan.
These
Look at
messages
that.
are so perfect for lunchbox notes.
Yes.
Oh,
So they're
love it.
very kind of messages of affirmation or good
Yeah.
little fun things. Yes, exactly. All right. So I'm going to gather up my project or my product here. We're going to need our embossing folder back again. We're going to use the flower die a little more extensively now. So I'm going to kind of bring that in. After pretty much not using the perfume bottle pieces, kind of pull my flower pieces in a little bit more prominently. Put these guys in my other tray.
They're asking if your extra samples have been posted to Facebook, or maybe said a different way, can they be?
Can you post them? Absolutely, yes, yes. I had planned on posting the extra ones. We'll make sure we do that.
Great.
Kind of separating my perfume bottle and my flower die. I'm going to pop these back on here real quick. Give everyone a second to pause. Maybe they're going to grab a drink. I want to make sure I have all my flower dies here before I go, Deb, I lost a die. Oh, I can already see I'm missing my leaves. But I know they're here somewhere. Leaves, leaves, leaves. Where did you run off to? Oh, there's one more inking one I wanted to show too. I guess I did show that. And I'll post all these, but look how pretty that is with the kind of more teal color palette. Isn't that nice? So same inking. Again, I was probably experimenting. What color do I want to do? So this is the same exact method we did with the pink, just a more teal ink. Okay, leaf and leaf. Okay, so if you guys have all your flower dies gathered up for me, that is awesome. And then the only piece we're using from the perfume bottle are these little insert pieces. And we really just need the 2 smaller ones. So you're going to need your perfect touch kind of frame there, and then the little bitty frame. So this is all the pieces for card number 2. Let me lay out the cardstock. You've got this large panel of Cosmic Sky. Love, love it. You're going to have plenty of extra of that. Maybe you'll want to use it for the Make and Take card. I did give you a little bit extra blue, so if you want to do that, you can use that. I've got my other half of my green panel. I'm bringing that yellow back in. Grab my pink. Remember I said we needed more pink, so grab that pink scrap. And then my darker green. Basically all the cardstock, excuse my head there, all the cardstock we haven't already used, we're going to bring back in. There's 2 other shades of pink there, and then the darker green. So we're going to cut a variety of leaves out of both of the greens. Our main flowers are all 3 pinks. And then our tiny little accent flowers are going to be yellow. So again, pretty much all the cardstock we haven't already kind of cut into. And of course, if you don't want to grab your full panel of green we trimmed,
So
maybe I'll
pretty. Just check
switch
out
it
that
out.
palette. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's so bright and pretty.
She's going to ask for the names of the color. Oh, there she goes.
Oh, should we do it? Okay, this is going to be a quiz for Nicole. Let's see if she gets these right.
Now, in fairness, what I'm seeing on screen, that looks like Cosmic Sky.
It is. I know the video screen's kind of a little bit weird sometimes, but Cosmic Sky, the very
Cosmic
biggest
Sky.
panel, yes.
Peridot is
That's
back.
what we said earlier. It's back.
Fern.
Along with Fern, yep. This yellow might be a little bit hard.
Is that beeswax or saffron?
It is beeswax.
Beeswax,
So it's
okay.
kind of our lighter, creamier yellow. This guy's returning.
Pink sand.
Pink
yeah.
sand. And then our 2 pinks.
Is that Fruit Punch and Dahlia? I cannot tell.
It is.
Okay,
It's
which
Fruit
is
Punch is kind of more of our pure pink. Dahlia's got that little bit of kind of corally look to it. Love.
And then I can't tell. Is that Cloudy Sky?
No, it's Raindrop.
Raindrop.
Raindrop, yeah. Our Cloudy Sky's a little more gray blue. This is just pretty much our classic medium blue.
It's a good one.
We are going to be inking a lot of these, so again, maybe the colors look a little bit different than your printout, but these are the colors we started with. Love, love.
They are very thankful that we have supplied cardstock.
Oh, yeah, that's sweet. That was one of the things we kind of went back and forth with Kinnery at Pink Fresh. We're like, should we? Like, you know, I know you guys do a lot of white cardstock and you do a lot of stamping, but we feel like the Spellbinders look is very much more like brighter die cuts. She's like, yeah, if you want to send cardstock, go for it. These 2 pieces we're going to cut out white. We're going to set them aside for now because we're actually going to stamp this first before we cut it, so won't need those right away. And again, no panicking, guys. We're going to emboss this in a little bit, so we'll set that aside too. No panicking if you get behind. I'm going to die cut these fairly quickly. If you've die cut a lot like I have, it can go pretty quick. But again, I think some of you even did some of this for homework just by looking at the, you know, photo. But I did want to walk you through the flower in particular. So let's start with that. And there's 2 of these big pink flowers. So I'm going to cut one and then immediately go back and cut a second one. So you'll actually see me go do everything on repeat pretty much. So the Dahlia, which we said is the more corally pink, that is the background or the base of the flower. And to tell you the honest truth, it doesn't even show up that much by the time you layer the pieces on top. But it is there, and I think it does make a little bit of a difference. So again, pretty much what you're going to see me do is cut most of these pieces twice. And then I'll just lay them out as we go. Backgrounds. And I don't always tape all these down when I'm die cutting, especially if I'm going a little quicker, unless I'm really trying to conserve paper. So if you guys do tape, that is a-okay. Keep my cardstock in a pile just so I don't, if I have to come back and go, oh, actually I forgot that one. So this funky little piece is actually out of the brighter pink, what we call fruit punch. So it's the bud and then the little top of the flower. So a little bit funny, but we're gonna need this.
This is where I say grab your packaging. Look at your
Yes,
packaging.
look at the pictures on the packaging, exactly. And I might even bring that in and kind of set it here. You can see that in this case, the flower on the packaging definitely has a much more contrasty inside, you know, because it is that, on the packaging it's that more peachy pink color. Our pink is not as high contrast, but I think you'll see in real life that it does provide that fun little pop of color. Now this die I'm actually going to cut 4 times. I only need this little piece twice, but I do want a couple extra of the little bud looking one for layering up. So I will have some extras here.
So this is where I'll also make a plug for some changes that we recently started making here at Spellbinders. For some of our more, what's the word, Kim? I guess more fussy, I don't know, fiddly, I think you say, dies.
Ah, I do call our small dies fiddly sometimes.
Yeah, so for those that have pieces, maybe some of the kinetics, some of the dancers, our design team has put together little JPEGs that show you what all the dies go to. So if you if you have a question, go to our website and go kind of cycle through the photos on the product page, and there's probably going to be one there that says, here's what it is. For example, if you picked up our recent Nutcracker, a lot of people say, what is this die? And it is to hold his hair. But I didn't know that either. I had a question about that, and I had to go back to the designer and then found the answer. But it's all coming to life on the website, so always use that website as a good resource.
I love that. All right, so you see we have 2 backgrounds, 4 little buds. We'll only need 2 of these, but I've got the other one stacked there. Now let's move on to our pink sand. And that's going to have this larger bud. And then, let's see, this little extra piece. So see the one that actually kind of looks like the bottom of a flower, and then these pieces are going to kind of layer with it to create that whole peony kind of a look. So we'll need this one twice. We still got plenty of time, but I do want to let you guys know that we're going to start watching the time a little bit, because we definitely don't want to run into some of your little break time where you got to get up and stretch. And I promise I won't rush, but Pink Fresh said we could go a few minutes over, but not too much. I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
I think so too. The first card was more challenging, obviously.
Yeah, it definitely was more technique-y, I think. This one's just fun. It's more about just assembling all the pieces and doing the little inking, I think, is fun. Okay, so big flower, kind of daisy-looking flower-ish. I need this little guy twice also. We're really creating a mirror look on this card. If you look at the photo, you can see that pretty much every card that is at the top, or every flower that's at the top of your card, is also repeated on the bottom of that kind of wreath look. But I just love this floral so much, I thought, you know what, we're going to have a fun little, really floral focused card. And I also feel like it goes with a Pink Fresh vibe too. Alright, so 2 blueies, easy peasy. And again, you're going to have plenty of cardstock left over to make more cards. Alright, so the little tiny yellow one is this little guy. We cut it out of white earlier. So now we're going to cut this several times. We want 4 of these yellow guys. This also does have a center that pops out with the die, but I'm using one of the Pink Fresh gems instead of using this for the center of the flower, so you don't necessarily have to keep those. Put them in your scrap bin. Alrighty. Now what we mostly got left is a whole bunch of leaves. Let's go ahead and use, I think we're going to get as many as we can out of this green. And honestly, when we start cutting these little leaves and stems, it's not going to matter so much even when we start placing them on the card if they're the light green or the dark green. I'm going to ink the lighter green a little bit, but I'm just going to kind of cut out as many as fit on here. I'll get at least 3. And maybe I'll even get part of another extra leaf. I feel like have extra leaves, it's okay.
That is one thing you have taught me, is that you can cut these die cuts up and use
Yes, exactly. You can trim them right off of these stems. I might even use a little bit of this extra paper for a couple of those smaller leaves too. Yeah, I think I'll only get it 3 times, but I'll have some extra real estate for those smaller leaves. Keep your little stems that pop out too. We're going to use those to kind of create the wreath. Now, I talked about partial die cutting. I'm actually going to kind of show you this as a little tip. Maybe I just want an extra leaf right here. Like I'm not getting the entire die cut, but you can pop out a couple extra green leaves just by positioning your die so it's part on the paper and part not. Especially these dark green leaves, we're going to be cutting a lot of them apart. So see, I still captured my full leaf. We'll do it one more time. Yeah, right here. And again, these are probably extra, but talk about getting mileage out of your paper here, folks. Use every little scrap. There we go. And then the green, I'm going to use some of the big and then also bring in some of those smaller ones too, the skinnier leaves. I'll cut this a couple of times too. You guys are going to be die cutting pros.
That's right.
You'll see that I'm bringing my die cutting platform back toward me. I don't really do that because it needs it for the die cutting effect, but just because it brings it back into the camera, but also brings it back where I can grab it.
Little quick tip.
Quick tip there. And again, you're gonna have tons of this green, so I'm not gonna cut this entire thing apart, but maybe I'll cut one more of the main stems. You have your Apple Watch in, it's probably counting this as a workout right now. I just got some calories burned.
I think people said we have no sound. I think we were just not talking.
Were we just not talking?
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not murmuring down into my die cutting machine. Are you guys okay with sound?
I think so.
Let us know if you're not.
We're humming in our head.
Sometimes I start concentrating and I forget to chit chat.
I do like your scrap bid
being a
now. I
little
think I need to
stubborn.
get one of those for my own craft room. Because I have everything kind of stacked up in their 12 by 12 things, but the little scraps get missed in there. So
Yeah, I do have a little tote with all my scraps in it.
It's a great idea.
I do like that. All right, guys, we have tons of fun die cuts. We have some still stuck in my die. All right, there we go. That's why that one didn't come out, because I had already had a die stuck in there. I was like, what? Okay, so lots of fun little leaves. We'll set those to the side.
So pretty.
Leaves and stems are going to make a little fun little wreathy effect there. Now, I do want to ink a few of these pink ones in particular to start out with. Just because I think the contrast between the fruit punch and this pink is a little more dramatic. So I'm going to use the pink fresh ink just to kind of tone these down and make them match this one a tiny bit more. I'm not going to ink any of the other pinky guys here, but just this one.
Do your gold centers.
I need to die cut my gold centers. I do need to die cut my gold centers. Good catch, Dab.
Right.
I'll come back and do those in a second. Let me ink these first. My little blue, I need 2 little blue centers for my blue flowers, so grab that gold I told you to keep handy. Now these I'm kind of just inking more or less all over. Again, just to kind of tone the pink down, or I should say maybe darken the pink more than tone it down, to just have them match that fruit punch a little bit more. And then these can dry for a second. I know the ink dries pretty fast, but these can dry for a second before we start assembling. And I might as well do the blue while I'm at it, while I've got my inking out. Got my blue brush. And this time I used Storm ink for my 2 blue flowers. I'll come back later and do the green leaves, but we'll concentrate on our flowers first. Love the Storm on this blue. It's so pretty. And you can see how the ink kind of drops into that die cut more. I think you can even see that on the video there. Because it does have those fine little cut lines there. When the ink kind of sinks into that, it really makes them pop nicely. You can really see the difference between the inked one and the not inked one. Very pretty. Ooh, that one's nice and dramatic. Did I mention I was heavy-handed? All right. So Deb reminded me we need 2 of these little centers, so I'll quickly go back to my machine. These are for our blue flowers. 2 little baby gold ones. And again, you'll have plenty of gold left over, but I'm pretty sure one of the other designers might have used a little bit of this gold on their project. You will see as you go through the weekend. If not, you'll have some fun little extra gold for your next project. All right. I'm going to keep my machine pretty handy here because I am going to emboss that blue panel. Take away these cutting plates. So remember I mentioned you have this larger piece of Cosmic Sky. Now I did just cut this in half, which will give you 2 A2 panels. The other A2 panel I did end up using on my Make and Take card. That is Christina's class, actually, with that really pretty full background stamp. That's what I ended up using for my little Make and Take. I got to play a little extra with that stamp set. Super fun. And again, a little bit of misting on this. Optional, but again, it does soften that fiber of that paper. This time when you mist it, you can do both sides. So just super light one side and just kind of quickly flipped it over. I think you can see the little bit of fine mist there. Oh, you know what? Ooh, okay. Pause, pause, pause. I did want to cut the frame out. Sorry, we're going to have a little aperture frame in here. Remember I said to grab those little dies? I think I led you guys wrong. I mean, not really wrong, but sorry. Back up the train here. This largest little aperture die, so remember I said we only need the 2 small ones. Oopsie, forgot about the biggest aperture, which we're going to actually cut out of our blue. So, sorry about that. Apologies. The 2 smaller ones we're going to definitely still use for white. I had mentioned that. But the next bigger one, this guy, we're going to cut an aperture out of this blue. I know it's a tiny bit damp now. It'll be fine. Before we emboss it, because I actually forgot about that. If we would have embossed this first and then die cut, it would kind of smash that embossing down. So, ooh, we don't want that. So, whew. Good save there.
Good save.
This is all about live video.
Got it in time.
If I would have done that, I would have been lucky enough to have another blue piece in my craft room, but you guys don't have that, so. Whew, hopefully you didn't get ahead of me there.
Well, in fairness, you designed these cards a while ago.
Oh, quite a while ago.
So,
yeah,
it's
before we
been a minute.
kitted them. But I'm glad I kind of remembered that. So you're just going to kind of center this up, down, left, right. Again, you don't have to measure it. Give yourself, you know, a good eyeball. I have grid paper here, so I can kind of place it there and see if I'm approximately in the center line. Pretty close. We're going to put flowers all the way around, so really it's going to kind of blur that die that you're not going to be able to really tell if it's perfectly centered, but do your best. If you are very analytical, you are certainly welcome to measure it with a little ruler. But, yay, before we emboss, cut me my little window.
So we have a die cutting question.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, but I want you to talk about this group. One of our guests has a warped top plate. So what do you suggest if her top plate is warping?
Well, one way to try to avoid warping just in the get-go, we'll back up the train and talk about that first. When I do my die cutting, I do like to follow Jennifer's advice and try to keep that one top plate clean. That does help with the warping effect. Warping is a natural thing that happens to the die cutting plates. It's eventually going to happen probably no matter what you do, but this is extra, by the way. You can put that away. But for example, I'll bring mine back into, this one's already kind of starting to cup. If I do this, you can already see how it's kind of starting to cup like that.
A lot of pressure through these machines.
A lot of pressure,
Thousands
yes.
of pounds of pressure.
So what I would typically do is I would try to keep this one always as a top plate. That again is just going to give you extra mileage. But this guy, I would now flip over and start die cutting on this side. Like I've done maybe, what, a dozen or 2 die cuts now. I would flip it over and start cutting on this side. And that's going to create the warp back the other way until it straightens up. And then I would flip it back over. And then I would tend to turn it this way also and die cut on all the areas of the plate, not just, my one preferred spot, as you can see right here. So definitely flipping these over and over again. Now, as far as helping a plate that's already warped, that's a little trickier. It can be done. In fact, I think, speaking of Jennifer, I think she's gone over a few things where, you fill your sink full of hot water, as hot as you can. You put them in, you put something heavier on top. One thing that I think Josie had told me that she does a lot of times, or maybe it was Yana, one of our designers, said when they are done die cutting for the day or something, they'll put their plates on and they'll roll them through like halfway, and then this is how they store their plates. So that kind of tends to just naturally keep them a little bit flatter. So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't always remember to do this, to be honest, but a lot of times I will. When I'm tidying up, I'll be like, okay. And that also helps just not to lose your plates.
Yes, it's good for
so
storage.
You're like, where'd my cutting plate go? So that's another tip too.
I like it.
So, and I think the hot water trick does work, but like I said, eventually it kind of pretty much not much works.
Yeah, Wendy said just buy new ones.
Just buy new ones.
Which is an option, but
we
like
do
to
kind of say around here that the die cutting plates are kind of what we consider a consumable item. I mean, eventually they are going to get, used up. All right. Now we can go back to embossing. I love it. Now you've got your window cut out, and my paper is pretty much dry again, Arizona. So I'm going to add a tiny bit more mist to it. And now I won't mess up my beautiful embossing by trying to die cut afterwards. This will be much prettier. And this card, I think actually when I originally made it, I didn't even have the embossing in the background, but then when I went back and redid it, I was like, oh yeah, the embossing really is pretty. So again, folder's kind of back on the platform, still plenty. It's still completely on the platform, just backed up a little bit of space here, and then run it right through. This really does create a great texture. And I appreciate all the kind remarks. A lot of you have commented in the Facebook group already how much you're loving this sweet little folder. I totally agree. All right. Dun, dun, dun. It's so pretty on the dark cardstock too. So don't forget to grab that darker cardstock out of your stash and try it. It's always super fun. All right, I think I'll quickly do my stamping just so we can have kind of these inner parts ready to go. And again, this is going to be where you can absolutely pick your own favorite sentiment. You can switch it up. I'm going to stamp first and then die cut second because that's going to allow me to frame this just perfectly. Which one should I do? Nicole, you should pick. Doesn't have to be the same one I did before. Maybe we'll have to send this one home with...
all kinds of amazing. Gosh, they're so good.
You're so glam.
I like it. I like
Happiness looks gorgeous on you. Yeah? Were we thinking the same thing? All right, good. Happiness looks gorgeous on you. This is the Gorgeous You collection. And by the way, guys, Spellbinders will be releasing this eventually, but you guys are pretty lucky. Nobody else is going to be able to get this collection until, what, Nicole, 2025?
Yeah, it's like probably Q1, maybe even Q2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, you are the first to be able to use this.
Mm-hmm.
Where did my white go? I just had it.
It's right.
I literally just had it. Well, this is my card base.
Oh, that's your card base.
It's the one with the little die cuts. What did I do with it?
I just saw it. Yeah, is it on the bottom of
Is it
your
stuck
Misty?
to something?
Did it get stick to the bottom of your Misty?
I just lifted up my Misty. No? Well, that's bizarre.
Oh, goodness. Kim is human too, everyone.
You guys, you just saw it.
I
I'm gonna
did.
like rewind your tape. I know you saw it. I have plenty of more paper, but that's pretty weird. It had my little leaves cut out of the top of it. Okay, it's stuck to something. All right, no big deal. You just need a little bitty piece. Maybe I'll trim this a little bit more. Tub's looking on the floor like, did you drop it?
So Kim, Jody Ann is asking if there's going to be more to this collection, and
Oh.
I don't remember, honestly.
There is. We did add a couple more pieces that we designed later because we just had so much fun with this, honestly. We thought, okay, we got to come back and add a couple more things. And one of them, if you guys were at the kickoff party this morning, I want you guys to guess because we chatted about this fun product a lot this morning. So guess what one of the pieces is. I'll give everyone a couple seconds to guess.
I think I might know, but I don't know. Sure.
You probably can guess. I mean, you would be able to guess, Nicole, but I know for sure the one really fun additional product.
And it's kind of new for us,
so you
right?
got to guess the category.
It's kind of new for us, right?
Well,
like the
kinda
size?
new, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay, black ink for this guy. I'm going to put my sentiment down here, leaving enough room to die cut around it. So, little tip there. And this is just VersaFine. I'm sure you guys probably have your favorite pink fresh black. That would be perfect too. I just happen to have this guy.
Okay, so they're telling me it's a better press plate.
Is that what you think it is?
Well, I thought we had one for the sentiments. I think we did better press plate for the sentiments.
We did.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a better press plate for sentiments. Not exactly the same as these, but really sweet sentiments too. So yeah, that'll be launching when Gorgeous You comes to life in 2025. So mark your calendars. No, you guys are fans of Spellbinders. I'm sure you'll be on the lookout for when we launch this. But we wanted you guys to have the first fun time to play with it. Okay, so this is the smallest of the little frames. In fact, the medium one we don't need right now anymore. We're going to do this one, and then I'm going to cut one extra die with this little Perfect Touch guy just to layer it up. So does this look centered? Pretty good. Maybe this way a tiny bit. It's always the stress of getting it straight. All right, and then that one. And I think we'll pretty much be done with our die cutting then. It will just be fun assembly time. Original platform back here. Oops, make sure your die doesn't slide off your paper. That's not cool.
Beth is asking if we have a retail shop here, and the answer is no.
No, we
do
don't.
not.
We really love our local independents. We talked about that this morning too on the kickoff. Like, support your local stores and order from them. You guys get these fun little packages. Of course, we have our website here at Spellbinders also. But we really love our local stores. We got to keep those guys in business.
Yes, we do.
All right, so I'm going to pop up the stamped sentiment onto the little label, and of course it's going to fit perfectly. And again, love the dimension. And then I have my other folded card front. Remember I said we're going to use 2 of those, so same exact card front. And this time I'm going to come in with my embossed piece. I'm going to use some strips on this, it'll go a little quicker. And I'm going to pop the embossed piece up too, because I feel like then that creates kind of a little shadow for my sentiment to hang around in. Just makes it a little more dramatic. I use all these little pieces off these strips, by the way. Skinny one from this side. So just build it up. Nobody's going to see the back of this, but you want it to be sturdy enough to hold up on your card. I will have to say the person that I've seen use the most foam strips ever on a project is Ariana.
Yeah, she's obsessed.
She'd like cover this whole thing, like blanket it with foam strips. Her cards stay very, very firm, that's for sure. Which is great for photography when we have to photograph a card. A lot of times we're putting them in we do a little catalog for our retailers. Then we do other photos for the website and other photos for the product page. So our cards get handled a lot. So it is nice when they are nice and sturdy. Get them all, one more. The other day we walked to the warehouse and 2 of us had these little backers stuck to our clothes. I'm like, well, you can tell we're crafters. All right. Hopefully I'm not going to get my head in here too much. Just kind of want to center this on your card.
I would totally get my head in the...
I know. I'd be like, you guys want to see my red hair that's turning gray?
This side angle.
There you go.
Pretty close. Looks like I might have one little edge of white here, but you know what? That's what scissors are for.
Remember, what you see as
tiny bit.
imperfections, your receiver is not even
They're
gonna
never going to notice. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
So now I have the fun window, and this guy you could pop up, but I think I just glued it or adhered it straight down. I might even just use a little smidge of wet glue. But you could pop this up even one more layer. And you have a really puffy card. But just pop that guy in the middle. And I do kind of like popping the sentiment in here because now when I start building my flowers all the way around, you totally can have fun framing this and, you know, making sure none of your words are covered or anything. Okay, I'm going to show you how to assemble this pink flower. I'm going to make sure we get that in before we run out of time. It's really the only tricky thing as far as assembling the flowers, and it's not even that tricky, but I did use some foam squares for making this really feel like kind of a, you know, cupped flower. So I started out with a couple of foam squares on the largest. I kind of work largest to small. And you can see that this has like a little dimple, and that's actually the bottom of your flower. Like you can sort of imagine a stem popping in there. So that is the bottom of your flower, and that matches the dimple on this little die. So they kind of help build themselves there. And then you've got your top piece. Yeah, so this is really the only tricky flower. So now you've got the main part of your peony here. And then this just matches right up, so you can just line it up.
It comes together a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's super complicated, but yeah. So you just got your little centerpiece, and then there's a couple accents that go on top. So again, there's extra. I've got extra bottoms, so it's really just adding these 2 pinks. The petal goes over the big petal, and this one goes right above it. So one above the other. Easy peasy. And this little guy. So there's you know, there's little cut lines that kind of match it up and kind of make it for you. Now this little bud right here, I want it as an extra bud. So I took one of my green leaves and I just popped this little bud on top. So even though it's not initially supposed to be used like that, I thought it was cute to add just that fun little piece. Maybe I'll pop one up on this plain stem also. So you are gonna, for your final card, you're gonna need 2 buds, 2 pink flowers, 2 blue flowers. I'll do 1 right now just to get us going. Assemble that one. These little green leaves I did not ink. Most of them I kind of cut off and just layered up with these other green guys. So I'll cut 2 off and I'll leave 2 plain right now, but a little bit of green ink. Green ink, where are you? See all my colors except green.
What are you looking for?
The green ink pad. I have all these right here. Oh, it's right here.
I was like, are you looking
Are
for
you?
what?
Are you
I know.
kidding?
Okay, guys, we're 2 hours in.
What's going
I was like, thinking it's right in front of you.
Hilarious.
on? Okay, Deb, you and
Oh, I got all my inks over to the left. Okay, Gavin, I'm gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to do a big shot. Can you widen the camera? You're gonna see exactly what my countertop looks like. My other inks are way over here, guys. Over here. Wide. Let's show them reality.
Okay, here's the reality.
There's reality. Yay. So all my ink pads are here. I'm looking for the green over here, people. Okay, sorry.
I thought maybe.
No, we can zoom back.
That's why we were like,
you were really looking for your brush.
What?
Oh,
I
yeah,
did too.
but-
That's what I
So I
thought, Deb.
didn't say anything. 'Cause I'm like, is she just looking for a brush?
You're looking for a little pink fresh brush. Hilarious.
Crack us up.
So same thing we did earlier, guys. Just adding a little bit of green to these. I think it just makes them match the darker fern paper a little bit more.
All right, we are at T-minus 8 minutes.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
We're good because really we have the photo. I'm just going to kind of show them how to start assembling. And then that's actually really the fun part. You guys can just kind of go to town and have fun. And again, this is mirrored, so everything that I'm doing here is going to be the exact same on the bottom half of the card. So we'll just kind of start popping them on here and give you a couple little tips. And
We call this BYOB, right, Kim? Build your own bouquet.
build your own bouquet, exactly. And there is no right or wrong. You know, I kind of started here. Again, now that we have our sentiment on, we can kind of see where we're overlapping there. This little guy didn't pop up. I did pop up quite a few of my leaves. But again, it can be totally up to you. Just kind of do your dimensional thing.
So cute.
I did pop up the blue one. And then it's really just about tucking in, adding your other little elements as you go around. Nothing that, I mean, I said I was going to offer tips, but it's really just all about sticking them on. This is what we fondly call now lick and stick.
Mm-hmm.
Just get your little, it's almost like stickers. Get your little foam squares, build this guy up here. And we are kind of creating a little bit of motion here. Just kind of having our things layer as we go around. Your little green stems. And again, by cutting these guys up, I can just go ahead and kind of layer this up. Kind of tuck it in this branch. So see, I've got, even overlap the leaf. Overlap the leaf a little bit like that. It gives me the perfect spot to pop in my little yellow flower. I'm going to bring in my finished card next to it, and I'll glue a couple more down. But guys, it's all about just adding all the fun things. And then I'll move this to the side. So you can see as we keep building and building, we're just going to continue to go all the way around, adding all the fun things. And of course, this is where I brought in these darling little, almost like little raindrops. I'm sure Pink Fresh has an exact name. Let's see on the back. Dewdrops. And they do totally remind me of that. And you can see where I've added them here. Maybe you can come in a little closer, Gavin. See how when you put them on that blue cardstock, look.
Ooh.
They almost turn like a blue color. So they're very iridescent, very, very beautiful. I'm glad we got this close-up shot here. You all can screenshot it if you want or whatever. But it shows up here, I think, even more than it does in the photo. But these little guys are going to pick up any kind of color that you have on your cardstock. And I just nestled them in anywhere with the flowers. Of course, I got the super cool Pink Fresh tool. And then the Barely Arts glue, again, I love using it. Dries clear. Don't have to worry about that. And then just nestling those in as you go all the way around. You can put them in the little center of your little yellow flowers. Yeah, and again, it's just all about building as you go. Adding your cute little centers. These little extra leaves. I just kind of, tuck in as you go around. It's kind of all about creating that movement of that wreath shape all the way around. Oh, it looks like my original buds I cut lighter pink. Oh, that's okay.
No rules, no rules.
Oh. So see, as you go, you create that super pretty motion. So fun. So, actually, let me bring in my other original finished card, my card number 1. I'll put these two little cuties side by side here. And we will give ourselves a pat on the back. Love, love, love. Hopefully you will have plenty of time between classes now if you want to just finish up this card. I know we got almost all the way there. But we do want to take a couple minutes and thank all the fun people who've participated in this morning's class. So thank you, Miss Nicole, for moderating.
Absolutely.
Amazingly.
Anytime.
And thank you, Gavin, for once again producing that amazing video technology. And thank you to Pink Fresh for including us in this super fun event. We hope that you have fun with all the other Pink Fresh classes that are coming up the rest of today and tomorrow. I know you're going to learn all kinds of new techniques and have fun. And I think you'll see even a few of these dies reappear eventually as you go out through the weekend. So have a great time. Thanks for spending the morning with me. Again, thank you, Pink Fresh. Love you guys. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.